Good afternoon, students.
Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Did anyone do their homework?
Yes.
Our lecturer's mic is still off, right?
Yes, I think it's the same thing that happened last week to you.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, sir.
So are we supposed to attend two tutorial or no?
Yes, Monday and Wednesdays. But last week you only had one class, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Can you hear
Good
me?
afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, all.
Finally.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm trying to
Good afternoon, sir.
organize myself. I'm glad that many of you are talking to me tonight. I feel much happier that many of you are responding to me. Can you all hear me properly?
Loud and clear, sir.
That's good.
Can hear, sir.
So I'm hoping to be able to share with you tonight from the course book, if all goes well. So, have you all been looking around Moodle? Have you all been checking your books? Have you all read the pages that we were talking about last time?
Yes, sir.
Nobody's answering me. So,
Yes, sir, yes.
yes?
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me see if I can pull the book up right now. So, course book. Can you see this page? English for Academic Purposes course book. Is it showing on your screen?
No, sir.
No. Oh, that's very sad. Okay, if I cannot bring it up tonight, then I'll just have to do it without it. So you cannot see that course book, right? Can you see it now?
Yeah, can you off your mic, please?
Can you see it now?
No,
No?
no, sir, we can't say anything.
No,
All
sir.
right, thank you for answering me. Okay, so
Excuse me, can you off your mic?
Okay, so if we cannot share the book, then we'll just carry on without it. So, what did we do last week? Can you remember?
Yes.
What did we study? What did we learn?
Abstract and concrete.
Very good. Abstract and concrete. What is abstract? Anybody able to tell me? What is concrete? What is the
Concrete are
definition?
things, concrete are things you can see, feel, or touch, whereas abstract are things like the opposite.
Yes. So abstract ideas are intangible. We cannot touch, see, smell, taste, or hear them. But concrete ideas, we can. So the difference between smelling perfume and thinking about your favorite perfume, or listening to a song, writing a song, abstract and concrete. What is academic? Anyone remember? What is academic? The meaning of academic. Anyone remember from last time? Academic English.
Academic is a well-structured essay.
Yes. So academic generally means at a certain level, which is above high school. Maybe it's another word for tertiary education, academic, high level learning. So when you write your essay, when you write your reports, it will be at a higher level than when you are doing it at secondary school. Today, our topic is, and you'll be expected to do some reading on the steps of writing an essay. So today we should be focusing on steps 1 to 4. How many steps are there? Can you remember from last time?
7.
No.
15
steps.
15 steps.
15 steps.
Yes. So
5 now.
writing an essay, there are 15 steps. So today we will be thinking a lot about the steps when we are writing an essay. 15 steps. So, step 1, understanding the task. When you have your question, which has been given to you, it's not actually a question. It doesn't come with a question mark. So, the task that you have been given, the questions that you have been given are: discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies, or evaluate the benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies enlisted by their governing authorities. There's no actual question mark in these things. So these are the tasks which you have been set. So step number 1 is understanding the task. Academic writing starts with understanding what it is you have to write about. Some universities maintain that 80% of students fail in their assignments because they do not answer the question that they need to pay attention to. So a task which you have been given looks something like this. This is one from last semester with a little blurb here, and then the task is written below. You will find your task for this semester on Moodle. Understanding the task is actually understanding the question, finding the keywords in the question. Academic writing starts with understanding what you have to write about. So, when you look at the question, discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with the government's mandated strategies. You have to find what is the main idea. What is the main idea which you have to discuss? Discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. What is this essay about? What is the main content? What is the overall subject matter?
Mandated strategies.
Pardon, Laura?
Mandated strategies.
Mandated strategies. So, mandated strategies. So I think that this topic is to do with what is the main topic here that we are talking about. The main task, the main idea, the main content. If I were to read to you a sentence, examine the principal causes of 16th century European price rise. What is the main content that we are discussing?
European price.
Price rise, yes. So in this case, discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. So what might be the main idea here? Maybe the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. Maybe mandated strategies is the main content. Mandated strategies, the main idea that we are going to be discussing, the main content that we're discussing is mandated strategies. If I were to say to you, discuss the proposition that education is a public good, what is the main idea? Main idea to be discussed.
Education.
Education, yes. If I say, explain how cyclones occur in the Southwest Pacific, what is the main content?
Cyclone.
South Pacific.
Examine the principal causes of the fall of President Suharto in 1998. What is the content? President Suharto. Yes, very good. Compare and contrast pottery traditions in two countries of the South Pacific. What is the content?
Pottery traditions.
Pottery traditions. Very good. So discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. Maybe the main idea here is
Mandated strategies.
mandated strategies. So when you have to write your plan, you will have to write, the first thing that you write in your plan, you'll be giving me your plan in week number 5. First thing you have to write, content. Content will be mandated strategies. That is your content. Second thing in the sentence, limiting words. So if we were to say, examine the principal causes of 16th century European price rise. What are the limiting words? We are not going to be talking about price rise generally. We are going to be talking about examine the principal causes of the 16th century European. These are the limiting words. European, 16th century, principal causes. These are the main ideas. So the second thing you'll have to write in your plan is the limiting words. What limiting words are we coming up with? So if I were to say to you, discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. What are some of the key words here?
Government.
Government, very good. We're talking about the government. Other keywords here. Discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. What are other keywords?
Refusing to comply.
Yes, refuse. Refuse is very important. Number 1, what kind of essay is it? Argument or discussion?
Argument.
Argument, yes. We are only talking about refusing, not refusing to comply or wishing to comply, only refusing to comply. This is a very important word to show we are only discussing argument essays. Refuse, government, discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. What are other keywords here? Are we talking about all the people?
Some people.
Some people, maybe some people, not 100% of the people. Some people agree we should get COVID vaccinations. Maybe most people agree that we should have COVID vaccinations. Some people disagree. Some people And another keyword, discuss the reasons. So these are important words. Discuss reasons. You are not discussing anything else apart from reasons. Reasons why some people refuse to comply with government's and then content mandated strategies. So if I were to say to you, discuss the proposition that education is a public good, what are the keywords?
Education.
Education is the content. Limiting words are
Public good.
public good. Yes, public good. Not a private good, public good. So if you have to write about this essay, you will be talking about education being good for the public, not education being good for individuals. How is education good for society? How is education good for countries? Not how is education good for one person or one family. Explain how cyclones occur in the Southwest Pacific. What are some limiting words?
Southwest.
South Pacific.
Southwest Pacific, yes. We're not
Southwest
talking about cyclones all over the world. Where is there a cyclone happening right now? Every year there's a cyclone happening there. Getting worse and worse. Off the coast of Florida. Where is Florida? Florida is a state in the
US.
yes, United States. We are not talking about the Caribbean. We are not talking about Florida. We are talking about the Southwest Pacific. If you write an essay and you talk about Florida, then it will be wrong. You only have to talk about Southwest Pacific when it comes to your essay. This is why it's very important. When you see your task, you have to be able to find the content, what is the main idea, and find your important words, which are your limiting words. Examine the principal causes of the fall of President Suharto in 1998. So, what are the limiting words here?
Principal cause.
Principal causes. What is the opposite of principal? Principal causes are the main causes. We do not have to have small reasons, only the big reasons. Examine the principal causes of the fall of President Suharto. Which country was President Suharto president of? Anyone know?
Japan, is it?
No, close to Japan. It's the largest Muslim country in the world, largest population.
China.
Anyone know where the largest Muslim
China.
population in the world?
Kenya.
India.
Largest
India.
Muslim
Pakistan.
population, not China.
Pakistan.
India.
No,
USA.
I'm very surprised. It's in the Southwest Pacific. This is starting with the letter I.
Indonesia.
India.
Indonesia.
Indonesia, yes.
Indonesia.
There are Muslims there are Hindus there, some Catholics and other Christians, but mainly the people of Indonesia are Islamic. So, President Suharto. So, examine the principal causes of the fall, not the rise, not how long he stayed in power. You are only talking about the fall of one person, President Suharto, in 1998. So, we are not talking about 1997. We are not talking about 1999. We are only talking about 1998. So we are looking at the keywords. So compare and contrast pottery traditions of two countries in the South Pacific. What is the content? You already told me the content of this topic is
Pottery traditions.
pottery traditions. Compare and contrast the pottery traditions in two countries in the South Pacific. What are the limiting words?
South Pacific.
South Pacific only, not North Pacific, not West Pacific, not somewhere else in the world. Compare and contrast the pottery traditions in two countries in the South Pacific. South Pacific and
Two countries.
two countries only. If you discuss three countries, you will be marked down. Only two countries. So maybe you can discuss the pottery traditions of Fiji and the pottery traditions of, which is another South Pacific country?
Tonga.
Tonga, yes. So you can discuss 2 countries in the South Pacific. So when you are writing your essay, you have to find the keyword, what is the content, what are the limiting words, which are going to limit the size of your essay. And number 3, you have to find the CLB, direction words. Direction words. So when we were looking at number 1 that you're going to write about, some of you discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. The content is strategies, mandated strategies. Limiting words, reasons, some people, governments. What other word might be important there that we have not used so far? The
Discuss.
first word, discuss. That means how are we going to answer this question? C, content is strategies. L, limiting words. Which words? Reasons, some people, governments. Discuss. Discuss. What does discuss mean? Discuss. Discuss. Looking at the 2 sides of an issue. Well, we're not going to look at 2 sides of an issue. I'm reading from the book. But discuss, talk about, write about the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. Discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. Explain how cyclones occur in the Southwest Pacific. What is the direction word? Explain how cyclones occur in the Southwest. Explain. Yes. Number 3. Examine the principal causes of the fall of President Suharto in 1998.
Examine.
Examine. Compare and contrast pottery traditions of 2 countries in the South Pacific.
Compare.
Compare and contrast. What does compare mean?
Differentiate.
Differentiate.
Compare, what are the
Similarity.
The similarity.
similarities?
Similarities.
Contrast, what are the
Difference.
Differences.
differences?
Different.
Yes, compare and contrast. Yes, compare and contrast. What are the differences and what are the similarities? All right, number 2. Maybe most of you will be doing this task. Evaluate the benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies enlisted by their governing authorities. What is the D?
Evaluate.
Evaluate, yes. Out of C, L, D, which one is easiest to find? C or L or D?
D.
D, yes, evaluate. So measure. Evaluate the benefits and the drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies enlisted by their governing authorities. So what is the content?
The government.
Benefits and drawback. No.
Mandated strategies.
Yes,
Mandated.
strategies. Again, strategies. Strategies is the content. So what are the limiting words?
Drawback.
Benefit.
Drawbacks,
Benefits.
benefits. Evaluate the benefits and drawbacks of,
Governing authorities.
yes, governing authorities, not
Government.
hospitals, government. So benefits, drawbacks, governing authorities. Evaluate the benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies enlisted by their governing authorities. One word missing. Benefits, drawbacks of
Citizens.
citizens. We are not talking about overseas people. We are talking about citizens. So if you can find the keywords in your task, then you will be able to answer the question directly. Discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with the government's mandated strategies. You know you have to discuss. You know you have to talk about the reasons. You know that you are dealing with some people. You know that they are refusing, and we are dealing with the government, not with the church, not with the law, not with the health department, not with education. So finding the keywords and work out whether they are C, L, D, content, limiting words, direction words. Evaluate the benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies enlisted by their governing authorities. Evaluate is the direction word. Benefits, drawbacks, citizens, governing authorities. Limiting words and strategies is the content. So, when you write your essay, you will know you are on task if you can list content, limiting words, and direction words. Try to make sure that you can define them correctly. When you write your plan, you will have to write out the task, then you will have to write out the content, you have to list your limiting words, and you have to list your direction words. If you can do that, then you have covered step 1. Do you think it's clear? It's in your book. It's on pages 1.21, 1.20, 1.19. Step number 1, keywords, content, limiting words, direction words. So when you get your task from any of your lecturers at university, you should be able to find the keywords and to know how to answer the question correctly. When we are writing our essay on COVID, does it talk about just limit yourself to Fiji? Does it talk about just limit yourself to the South Pacific?
No.
No, you can write on Fiji and the South Pacific if you want to only. It's up to you if you want to limit yourself to Fiji and the South Pacific. But it's not limiting you to Fiji and the South Pacific. So you can talk about other countries. In fact, when you read the blurb, it talks about many countries in the world being affected by COVID. So if you want, you can compare and contrast. The task is not limiting you to Fiji, to the South Pacific, or to what the Fiji First authorities are saying. So you are not bound to limit yourself unless the task is telling you to do that. Step number 2 is recognizing a proposition. At school, you would have had to do debating. So when you are answering the question, you need to be able to look at the task to find a sentence, a proposition. A proposition is a sentence that can be agreed
Or disagree.
or disagreed with. So when it says here, discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies, how can you turn this into a sentence that can be agreed or disagreed with? You can take out discuss and you can put in, there are reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. So if you do that, then you have made a sentence that can be agreed or disagreed with. If you can find a sentence that you can disagree or agree with, then you are able to write an essay on that topic. If your teacher gives you a topic, tourism is an industry. Is this arguable? Is this a sentence that can be argued with? Tourism is an industry.
Not agreeable.
Tourism is an industry. Can you argue with that?
No.
Yes.
No,
You can't.
tourism is
No.
that is a fact.
Fact.
It's a fact. Tourism is an industry. It's Fiji's main industry. Tourism is an industry. You cannot argue with that. However, maybe your lecturer will give you the topic. Tourism poses a danger to the environment.
Yes.
Yes,
You
you
Yes.
can argue with that. There can be, you can agree, tourism does pose a danger to the argument. You can also disagree. Tourism poses a danger to the argument. What might be some arguments against tourism posing a danger to the environment?
No, not only tourism contributes a danger to the environment, there are other factors as well.
Yes, thank you, Mark. There are other factors. Also, tourism can be done in such a way that it will not pose a danger to the environment. Does anyone know what kind of tourism that is?
Sustainable tourism.
Sustainable tourism or ecotourism.
Tourism. Yeah.
Does anyone know of a hotel near Suva, which is trying to be eco-tourist friendly?
No.
I think there's one in Dole Suva. Anyone been to that hotel? Does anyone know of that hotel? Where
So
is
the
it?
one in Tolisuva.
Yes. Where is it located? It's located in the forest, right? And so it tries to not chop down trees, but to be located in the forest. So next time you are driving through Dole Suva, look on the left when you are going past Tamavua. You'll see, is it called Eco Lodge or something like that? I can't remember. But there's a hotel there and it tries to be eco-friendly. Many of the hotels which are located in Fiji are trying more and more to be eco-friendly. Some hotels are having turtle breeding programs, etc., and trying not to pollute the waters around where the hotels are located, etc. So while tourism can pose a danger to the environment, many hotels are not eco-friendly. Tourism can also be eco-friendly. So recognizing a proposition. What is the definition of a proposition? A proposition is a sentence which can
Be
be
agreed or disagreed on.
agreed or disagreed with. So discuss the proposition that education is a public good. What is the proposition? What is the, yes, the proposition is actually already there. Discuss the proposition that education is a public good. How can we turn this into one sentence? Education is a
Public good.
public good. So it can be said that education is a public good. Can we argue against it also? Maybe if we are very well educated, maybe we also know how to influence people, guide people in the wrong way as well as the good way. Hopefully, when you come through USP, part of your education will encourage you to be good citizens. If we are leaders, it behooves us to be good leaders, to lead people in the right way. So education can be a public good, but the more knowledge we have, sometimes if we are lawyers, we know how to get around the law. If we are business people, then maybe we know how to work the system so that people pay more and that we extort them for more money than they should be paying, etc. So education can be argued, can also cause people not to be good as well as good. The more we know, the more we can work for the good of the public, but we can also know how to influence people for the wrong things in a big way as well. Explain how cyclones occur in the Southwest Pacific. How can we turn this into a sentence which can be agreed or disagreed with? Explain how cyclones occur in the Southwest Pacific. there are ways in which cyclones occur in the Southwest Pacific. So compare and contrast pottery traditions of two countries in the South Pacific. What might be a sentence there? There are pottery traditions in the South Pacific. So we are taking a sentence which can be discussed. So part 2, proposition, is finding a sentence and being able to agree or disagree with it. The proposition is in two parts, a topic and a comment. The use of pesticides on farms should be abolished. Is it a proposition? It is a proposition. What is the content? The use of pesticides on farms should be abolished. This essay is about
Pesticide.
pesticides. Use on pesticides on farms should be abolished. Topic, pesticides. Comment, should be abolished. So this is something that you can debate, that you can argue. Should pesticides on farms be abolished? How many of you are farmers? Do you use pesticides on farms? Do you use paraquat at home?
Yes.
Yes. So maybe there are reasons why we use pesticides. Maybe it's too hard to do farming without the use of chemicals. It makes life easier. So pesticides on farms, maybe in an ideal world, pesticides should be abolished. But for the sake of making our work easier, we use pesticides on farms. So there are arguments which can be made both ways. Ecotourism in the Pacific is the only way to protect its uniqueness. What is the content?
Ecotourism.
Yes, ecotourism. Ecotourism in the Pacific is the only way to protect its uniqueness. Topic, ecotourism. The only way to protect its uniqueness is a comment. Do you agree? Should we be protecting our environment in the Pacific with ecotourism?
Yes, sir.
Yes. People come to Fiji, why? Why do people come to the Pacific?
For sightseeing,
Yes. What do they have to see in the South Pacific?
sometimes see fish in the ocean, something like that, and the birds in the forest.
Yes, the forest, the birds. What is the main reason people come to Fiji for holiday? Pardon, Mark, didn't catch it. People usually come to stay at a hotel, which is located where?
Mostly our culture was standing for Apollo Smiles and
Near beaches.
Beaches. So we have to keep our beaches beautiful. If we destroy them, then people will not come to Fiji or the Pacific anymore. So ecotourism in the Pacific may be the only way to protect its uniqueness. Maybe there are other reasons as well. Why do people go to Natandola? Natandola Hotel, famous for what? When I was a child, I went to camp at Natandola. Now I cannot go camping there anymore. Natandola is world famous because of the golf
Golf
course. Yes. So maybe there are other things that can be developed in order for people to come to the Pacific, but probably people go to Natandola not only to play golf, but because of the beautiful location. It's near the sea. You can see the mountains. You can see trees, all sorts of other things. Children should be seen, but not heard. What kind of, which department might write an essay on this? Which people are very concerned?
Government.
save the children.
No, women.
Without women.
Women and children. Women and children.
If you come to university, which topic is discussing children mostly? Which course? Is it law? Is it education? Is it science?
Education.
Law.
Education.
The topic is children. Children should be seen but not heard. Who agrees with that? Who disagrees with that?
Me.
Me.
Who thinks that sometimes it's good for children to be seen and heard? Sometimes it's good for children to be seen and not heard. Maybe after 8 o'clock at night, children should be in their bed. So maybe children should be encouraged to be heard. We need to be able to hear children, but also we need to guide children in the right way. What is appropriate behavior? What is inappropriate behavior? But this is a proposition. Children should be seen but not heard. Whatever you think, whatever you researched, your essay will be on that topic. So question number 1 is, there are reasons why some people refuse to comply with the government's mandated strategies. And question number 2, task number 2, there are benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies listed by the governing authorities. So those are your proposition sentences with regard to the essays that you are doing. All right, describe the nuclear family. Is that a proposition or not a proposition? Describe the nuclear family.
Not a proposition.
It's not a proposition.
It's not telling you to argue about anything. It's not telling you to discuss anything. So if we say the nuclear family is the basic basic unit of society, do you think that that would be a proposition sentence?
Yes.
Yes. The extended
Yes.
family is a more supportive structure than the nuclear family. Is it a proposition sentence?
Yes.
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 Weathering and erosion. Weathering and erosion. Full stop. Is it a proposition sentence?
No.
No.
No. So what about it? Discuss the principal causes of erosion in an arid landscape. Is it a proposition sentence?
No.
No. So
No.
the reasons for erosion in an arid landscape is a proposition sentence. So step number 3, creating the question to be answered. So when you are doing your task, we call it a task. We do not call it a question because it is not actually a question. It does not have a question
mark.
Yes. So step number 3 is turning your sentence, your task into a question. So examine the reasons for the 1987 economic collapse. How can we change that into a question?
What are the reasons?
What are the reasons for the 1987 economic collapse? Yes. Number 2, evaluate the importance of the chiefly system within Pacific cultures. Evaluate the importance of the chiefly system.
What are the importance
What
of
is-
chiefly
Yes.
system?
What is importance?
What is the importance, or how important is the chiefly system in Pacific cultures? Yes. Discuss the importance of education to developing nations.
What are the importance of education?
Yes. You can say, how important is education to developing nations? Compare and contrast the economies of 2 Pacific nations. What are the, compare means?
Similarities and differences.
Similarities and differences of the economies of 2 Pacific countries. So looking at our question again, discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. How can we turn this into a question?
What are the reasons?
Very good. What are the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies? So if you can turn it into a question, you will know how to answer this question. Evaluate the benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies enlisted by their governing authorities.
What are the benefits and
Yes.
drawbacks?
What are the benefits and what are the drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies enlisted by the governing authorities? So if you can do steps number 1, step number 2, step number 3, then you should be able to answer the question on topic. You will not do anything off topic. You will know the content, in this case, mandated strategies. You will know the limiting words, reasons. Some people refuse government, and you will know the direction word, discuss. Evaluate the benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies enlisted by their governing authorities. Content, strategies, limiting words, benefits, drawbacks, citizens, governing authorities, and direction word, evaluate. Then we make it into a sentence, into a question with a question mark. All right. Once you have looked at the task, once you have worked out what you are supposed to be writing about, then you can do your brainstorming. What do you think brainstorming is?
Thinking outside the box.
Yes. In the text, it says brainstorming is thinking of as many ideas related to answering the question as you can. So maybe you have to find a quiet space. Maybe it's not so easy at home. Maybe you are lucky if you have your own room, but you have to find your space to think about how you are going to do your brainstorming, thinking about how you are going to answer your question. So, how many words is your essay?
800 to
800
1000.
words. So, how many words maybe in one paragraph?
100.
Minimum of 100 words. So, 100 words for your introduction, maybe. Minimum 100 words for your conclusion. Minimum, maybe. And then how many paragraphs in the body?
6.
100 words introduction, 100 words conclusion. How many
7.
paragraphs in the body?
6.
7.
6 paragraphs in the body.
7.
100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. 600 words. Introduction, conclusion, 800 words. If you aim for 100 words for each paragraph, then you will have 800 words, and you do not have to worry of going over 1,000 words. So 600 words in the body, 100 words maybe for the introduction, 100 words maybe for the conclusion. How many main ideas will you have? Benefits and drawbacks. 6 paragraphs in total. How many paragraphs for your benefits?
3.
3. How many paragraphs for your drawbacks?
3.
3. Yes, you have to balance it. Evaluate the benefits and the drawbacks. So introduction is 100 words. Conclusion, 100 words. Benefits, 100, 100, 100. Drawbacks. That will be 600 words in the body. Do not put your benefits first when you are writing. Number 2. Why do we not put benefits first? We should put drawbacks
first.
Yes, drawbacks, then benefits. Why do you think we are putting the drawbacks first? It's much stronger an essay if you put your weaker arguments first and your stronger arguments second. So when you write an essay at university, you need a good introduction, good conclusion, and then think about your body, planning, evaluating, balancing your arguments, and put the weak ones first, drawbacks, 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 and then benefits, 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 disadvantage, 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 and then advantage, 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 or disadvantage, advantage, disadvantage, advantage, disadvantage, advantage. That is also okay. If you are giving one main idea to vaccines, disadvantage of vaccines, advantage of the vaccine. So drawback, benefit. 2 paragraphs. Next 2 paragraphs. Wearing masks. Drawback, benefit. Then your last 2 paragraphs. Social distancing. Disadvantage, drawbacks, and then benefits. So, introduction. Vaccines, drawback, vaccines, benefits. Masks, drawbacks, masks, benefits. Social distancing, drawbacks, social distancing, benefits. Conclusion. That is how your 8 paragraphs will be set out. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when you're doing your research on vaccines, on masks, on social distancing, think about brainstorming with all of your ideas. So maybe you will want to put your main idea in the middle. Main idea 1 will be vaccine, and then you put some ideas around it. So it's like a circle, clustering your ideas. How many things can you think of with regard to vaccines? So what is some disadvantage of vaccines? Disadvantage of vaccines, maybe it will make you feel sick.
Yeah, side effects.
Side effects, yes. Advantage, maybe it will protect you. So think of some ideas around vaccines. Next main idea, masks. What are some disadvantages of masks?
Can't
Prevent you from
breathe.
breathing properly.
Suffocating.
Yes, can't breathe properly, too hot. Maybe you cannot
breathe properly.
Usually when you go to the bank, you have to take your hat off, make your face uncovered. Nowadays, you have to wear masks when you go into banks. Social distancing, think of any ideas, advantages, disadvantages around that. So maybe before you even do that, you'll just take a piece of paper and write. Write any ideas that come into your head about COVID, about government, strategies, any words that come into your head. Just, some people think better that way. Any words that you can think of that might be used in the essay. Maybe you can think of USA, United States. Where are some countries where the COVID situation is really bad now? Where's countries affected by COVID death?
China.
Is China getting better now? I haven't heard about China for a while. Not
India. India.
India, really bad. What other countries really bad?
Australia.
America.
USA.
USA.
Yes.
Australia.
Australia is getting worse, but there are first world countries which are much worse afflicted would be Africa, South America, and maybe Southeast Asia. So if we know about what's happening in these countries, India, quite bad at the moment. It's out of control. So maybe we just do some reading, do some thinking, and write some words down that you might want to include. And then later on, as you're writing your essay, then you sort out your words. Another way to write your essay is to do your first draft, just like you might do it in Form 1 or Form 2. Just write a basic essay. Maybe you are not including all of your research at this stage, but you are just getting some ideas. How will I write my introduction? How will I write my conclusion? What are 3 main advantages? What are 3 disadvantages? how can I start to write some paragraphs? So maybe just write some paragraphs, try to think. Maybe you will not have paragraphs at this stage. Just getting your ideas on paper is part of the effort. Sometimes it's harder to start writing than to continue writing. I encourage you, use your word processors as much as possible. It's easy to copy and paste, to discard, to renew, to add in. So start writing and then keep improving. Improve as you go. Think about questions. What are the problems? What are the problems associated with COVID? Who is experiencing them? When do they happen? Where are they happening? How do they affect Pacific nations? How do they affect third world nations? How do they affect developing nations? How do they affect first world nations? Why do they occur? So you can think of the questions you might want to ask with regard to your topic while you are brainstorming, so that you can start to write your essays. With regard to your reading, make sure you keep trace of your sources. So probably it's all online, so you need to write down your internet address. Write down your URL. What is the URL? URL. Write down your
Universal Resource Locator.
Yes. http:// whatever the internet address is, write it down, because you have to include it in your bibliography. If you read some books, make sure you make a note of the author, the name of the book, etc., because you get marks for your bibliography. So part of being at university is doing research and to be able to show where you did your reading. So make sure you take a note of it, and so you can include it in the bibliography. Also, you will be using quotations from there, direct quotations using quotation marks. To be or not to be, that is the question. Quotation marks. Who said that? To be or not to be? That is the question. This is a very famous line from Adam, Gregory.
Hamlet.
Hamlet, yes, Hamlet said that. So when you have your, I will be teaching you later how to do it more properly, direct quotations, whatever sentence you want to take from a book, try to include it, put it in quotation marks. Do not plagiarize. We want you to do reading. We want you to include your reading in your essays. If you include your readings in your essays, that means that you are doing your work for your essay. Do not take some sentences from somewhere and just include it without acknowledging it. If you include sentences without acknowledging them, that is plagiarizing. Is plagiarizing a good thing or a bad thing? It's bad. So do not copy from anyone's work without showing that you have taken it from their work. Also, very important, do not copy from your friends, from your cousins, from your best friends. If you are copying from other people, you and that person will both get 0. So if you copy a sentence, if you copy a paragraph, that will not be considered. If you have over maybe 30% plagiarism, 35% plagiarism, then we have to consider whether we are going to give you marks or not. When you hand in your essays, we will be checking. Turn it in, we'll be checking to see if all of your sentences are your own work or properly acknowledged. And so if it is not properly acknowledged, if it's copied from somebody, then we cannot accept those sentences. So, can you share ideas with other people? Yes, you can. You can share ideas with other people, but do
Yes.
not share sentences with other people. Do not show your essay to somebody else. If they beg you, maybe you can discuss ideas with them. Maybe some of you will be having the same ideas. It's okay. But do not share sentences with other people. Your sentences are your own work. But you can use quotation marks if you are copying direct sentences to be or not to be. That is the question. However, you can also use indirect quotations. Hamlet was discussing, what was he discussing? To be or not to be? That is the question. To be alive or not to be alive? That is the question. So maybe if you are giving indirect quotations, you will say Hamlet was discussing, what word? Was discussing suicide. And then you have Shakespeare, Hamlet, and the year that he wrote it. When did Shakespeare write Hamlet? Anybody know? 1599. So Romeo and Juliet, all of those plays by Shakespeare, 1600, 1700, 1800, 1900, 400 years old now. So if you think of Romeo and Juliet, they are still young, but they have been around for 400 years. I'm not hearing anybody. Everybody's got their mute on. Are you all listening to me? I hope so.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions? I would like to hear your voices for a while. Anything to ask me? All right. So if that is all done, then we can talk about organizing and categorizing. Organizing and categorizing is making your paragraphs out of the ideas which you have. And in the book, there are some exercises about organizing and categorizing. So, pond, lake, sea, pool, puddle. What category are they? Pond, lake, sea, pool, puddle. All are examples of bodies of water, yes. Indian, Irish, Iranian, Greek, Turkish. All examples of
Countries.
countries, Indian, Irish, Iranian.
People. Yes.
Maybe we can say nationalities. I'm Indian, I'm Irish, I'm Iranian, I'm Greek, I'm Turkish. Okay.
European country.
Biology, chemistry, physics, geology, astronomy, all examples of?
Subjects.
Yes, what kind of subjects?
Science.
Science subjects, yes. Never, seven, cleverest, severe, revenge. Can anyone hear what?
Feeling.
They all have the letter V in there. Never, seven, cleverest, severe, revenge. So when you are looking at your brainstorming, you start to categorize, you start to put your sentences in order, and then think about how you are going to order your ideas on the page. So disadvantages before advantages. Maybe disadvantage, 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 advantage, 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 or disadvantage, advantage, disadvantage, advantage, disadvantage, advantage. Sometimes, if you are studying history or other subjects, your ideas might be chronological. What is a chronological order? Chronological is according to the
Time.
yes, the date, the timing. So maybe you will start from the longest time ago, maybe independence of Fiji, right up until 2021. Or maybe you will start at 2021 and then you will go back to the date of independence of Fiji. You can either come forward in time or you can go back in time. So that's one way in which you can organize your work, depending on whether it's appropriate for your essay. Sometimes you will have causes, and sometimes you will have effects. So if you are talking about global warming, cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect, or cause, cause, effect, effect, effect. Also, if you are talking about the economy, what is the cause of an economic downfall? What is the effect of an economic downfall? So, cause and effect. Another way to order your ideas is having a description starting with general ideas. General, from the general, coming down to the, what is the opposite of general? Specific. Specific, yes. When you write your introduction, you'll be starting with a very general idea, and then you'll be coming down to the specific. When you write your introduction, you will start with a context, not content, context. So maybe we will talk about COVID as an example of what? What is COVID? COVID is an example of a
Virus. Virus.
Virus. Okay, yes. What kind of virus? More specifically, maybe a little bit. Maybe, for example, COVID is an example of
Deadly virus.
pardon?
Deadly virus.
Deadly virus.
Deadly virus, yes. All over the world. A deadly virus that spread all over the world starts with P.
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
Yes. When was the last pandemic in the world?
2020.
Yes. What was
I
that
know.
pandemic?
It's Corona only.
100 years ago, 1920, now 2020.
So was it the Spanish flu?
Spanish flu, very good. In Fiji and other countries in the world, the Spanish flu was the last pandemic. So when you start writing an introduction, maybe you'll talk about pandemic or virus, but pandemic may be a good context, a very good general, then come down to the specific, what you are going to discuss in the introduction. And then in the conclusion, you will finish with your thesis statement, and then you will go from the specific out to the general again. So we will be touching on those things as we learn how to write our introduction and how to write our conclusion. So when you write your essay also, you might want to start with general things first and specific things later. Maybe not with regard to these essays, but UU 114 is trying to train you on how to write an essay, whatever the topic, not necessarily just the topic that you are writing here. And then maybe your essay will be a process. First step, second step, third step, fourth step, fifth step, sixth step. Probably with writing your essay, you will just have your list of 3 main ideas if you are doing question number 1, or you'll have your disadvantage, advantage, disadvantage, advantage, disadvantage, advantage for your 3 main ideas. So that is what step number 6 is about. How are you going to order your ideas in your essay? When you are doing your essay, it's good to have a look at the marking criteria. Have any of you looked at the marking criteria yet? The marking criteria shows you all of the things that we will be checking for when we are marking. Your essay is out of 45. So there are 10 main categories and 10 things we will look at. One is introduction, one is conclusion, one is using typing, did you type the essay properly, grammar, vocabulary, did you use words which are appropriate to university level? So if you have not found the marking criteria yet, then I encourage you to look at your marking criteria to see how you are going to be marked. When you are writing your essay, you will be writing an abstract. An abstract goes before the introduction. You write it last, but it goes before the introduction. For an essay of 800 words, you only need 5 sentences. What are your 5 sentences about? Your abstract is the outline of the essay. So, first sentence will be, what is the task? It will introduce the essay. Second sentence, what is your main idea, number 1? So if you are writing about masks, then you will give examples of using masks. 1 sentence only. Third sentence, second main idea. If you are discussing vaccines, then write 1 good sentence about vaccines, only 1 sentence with examples. And then your third sentence, describe social distancing, if that is what your 3 main ideas are, and then examples for that. So you have your 3 sentences, masks, vaccine, social distancing, your first sentence, which is your task, and your conclusion sentence. What is your conclusion based on all of your main ideas? Maybe main idea 1 is social. Maybe main idea 2 is economic. Main idea 3 might be political. So if you have those as your 3 main ideas, you have 1 very good sentence on economics, 1 very good sentence on social, 1 very good sentence on politics. At the beginning, the introductory sentence, what is the task? Conclusion, what is your concluding sentence? So as well as the introduction, 1 paragraph, conclusion, 1 paragraph, 6 ideas in the body, at the end, you will be expected to write up your outline, only 5 sentences, which summarizes your essay. So that before anybody reads your essay, they can just read the summary. They will know what the task is. They will know what your conclusion is. They will know what your 3 main ideas are. So that is called the abstract. If you have not done that before, then in UE 114, we are teaching you how to write an abstract. When you are reading articles online, you can read the abstract. When the United Nations puts out articles, at the beginning, they have an abstract. They have an outline of what is inside the article. If you're not sure whether the article is relevant or irrelevant, then you can just read the abstract and you will know exactly what is in the essay. Make sure you keep your abstract very short, 5 sentences only, 1 sentence explaining the task, 1 sentence for each main idea, 1 sentence for your conclusion, so that people will know what your essay is about, and we will know that you know how to write your abstract. This will be made clearer when we get to that as we get further into the book. Any questions? Anything else? Mark?
For our plan,
Yes.
like, is it compulsory to have 2 supporting ideas for like each main idea, or you can just have 1 supporting idea for
So
the main ideas that
when you write your paragraphs, we will use Texi or Sexy, depending on who your teacher is. You must have at least 1 example per paragraph. Statement, sentence, explain, give example or examples. implication. That is the format of your paragraphs. You must start with a statement sentence. You must finish with an implication sentence. In the middle, it's up to you. You can give many examples if you want, and you can explain as much as you want. But start with T or S, finish with I. In the middle, at least have one example. When I'm marking, I will be checking to see if your sentences are fixy. So in the body, I will be checking if you have some example in each paragraph, then I will know that you have got examples for each paragraph. Each paragraph must describe something different from the last paragraph. One paragraph, one main idea. That main idea is introduced in the statement sentence. It's explained, example is given, implication is there. So yes, you need to find examples, either they're PG or overseas, whether it's a government that you want to talk about, political leader, whether it's the Minister of Education, whether it's a religious leader, etc. Then you have to give some example from somewhere to support the examples that you are giving. Any more questions about that?
Sir,
Yes.
what are the minimum number of main ideas we can have?
Minimum number of main ideas. So you can have 2 disadvantages and 2 advantages if you want, but you still have to make sure that your words are 800 words. So 2 disadvantages, 2 advantages is okay. Maybe you can have, if you are doing number 1, then maybe you'll have 2 main reasons why some people refuse to comply with the government's mandated strategies. So maybe 2 is enough. Just make sure you have enough information. Maybe your paragraphs might be quite long. So yes, you have to discuss reasons. So discussing reasons, it must be more than 1. So you have to have some reasons. So discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with the government's mandated strategies. Maybe 4 is okay. 4 is okay. Evaluate benefits and drawbacks. That means you have to have at least 2 benefits, at least 2 drawbacks. So minimum of 4 paragraphs in the body, which means yes. So just think about your brainstorming. How many main ideas were you thinking of using?
3.
3. 3 is probably the best, but if you want more or less, more you'll make your paragraphs very short. Less, you might have to have longer paragraphs.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Any more questions there? Step 7 is writing a thesis statement. The most important sentence in your essay is your thesis statement. Thesis statement will be written in your introduction and in your conclusion. So the thesis statement is going to tell what your main ideas will be. So it is a generalization relating to several examples. So discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. Maybe your main thesis statement will be, this essay will discuss the reasons why some people refuse to comply with their government's mandated strategies. Listing your main idea. These include economic, social, and political. So whatever your main ideas are, you must list them in your thesis statement. Thesis statement is the last sentence in your introduction. You are going from the general, talking about pandemics, and then coming down to the reasons why some people refuse to comply with the government's mandated strategies, including economic, social, and educational. Evaluate the benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with the strategies listed by governing authorities. What might be the thesis statement here? The benefits and drawbacks of citizens complying with strategies listed by government authorities include the use of vaccines, the use of masks, and practicing social distancing. Thesis statement, one sentence which describes your main ideas. Make sure
Yes,
you
Mr.
include a list of your main ideas. Yes, Laura.
So all our main ideas will be included in the thesis statement.
That's right. So before you write the body, then the thesis ideas will be included in the sentence. So the reader knows what the main ideas will be. So generalizations relate well to several ideas. So an example of a thesis statement might be, the reasons why Napoleon failed to defeat Russia are threefold: political, strategic, and geographic. So what are the three main ideas in that sentence? What is this? What is the generalization? This essay is about the reasons why Napoleon failed to defeat Russia. Who is Napoleon?
The Empire of France.
Yes, he was an
Emperor.
He was an emperor. If you are doing a history essay, the reasons why Napoleon failed to defeat Russia. Threefold: political, strategic, and geographic. So 2 paragraphs might be about politics. So what was the political situation in Russia? So anyone know about Russia? Who was the leader in Russia 100 years ago? The leader of Russia was the emperor.
Roosevelt.
The emperor was the Tsar Nicholas. So it's a very terrible story. What happened to Tsar Nicholas? The communists took him and killed him and his wife and his children. Maybe you've seen a movie called Anastasia. Political. This was what is the largest country in the world? Anybody know? Largest country in the world, size-wise.
Russia.
Russia, yes. So the Tsar was very powerful because he was the emperor of Russia. And so political leadership, how was the king ruling Russia? Strategic. 2 paragraphs might be on strategy. What is strategy? Strategy, how we
Things to happen.
how we plan. The reasons why Napoleon failed to defeat Russia, planning. So he decided to wage war on Russia. So maybe his planning was bad. So anyone know the story? He took his army and marched through the snow. It was a long way to get from Europe to Russia, and most of his army, they died in the snow because it was very cold. So his strategy was not a good one. Political strategy and geographic. So maybe he did not realize how big Russia was, how many mountains he had to climb, etc. So political, strategic, geographic. The reasons why Napoleon failed to defeat Russia are threefold: political, strategic, geographic. 2 paragraphs on political, maybe 2 paragraphs on strategy, 2 paragraphs on geography. The causes for the financial collapse of 19